From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief creator of Amazing Ideas at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I sit down with my good friend Nathan Wrigley, and we talk about the Page Builder Summit. And we kind of break it down and talk about what to do with summits online and what not to do. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation that Nathan and I had. Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here. I'm here with Nathan Wrigley today, and we're going to talk about, kind of break down the Page Builder Summit. How are you today, Nathan?
Hello, I am very good. How are you, Rob?
I'm really good today. It's always a pleasure. Usually we're connecting on your podcast, WP Builds, or Facebook, or Twitter, or somewhere else. So it was about time I had you on this platform.
Well, I am very happy to be here. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure. So what I thought we'd do is we'd kind of break down, you've had kind of a week to think about the Page Builder Summit. And I should preface and say this was a summit you did for WordPress users. But that said, the concepts could be applied to any type of summit. How did you think the summit went overall, first of all?
First thing I should say is that it's definitely plural. It isn't me that did it. I do it with Anshan LaRue, who is a friend of mine that is in the WordPress community that I met in real life, and then we connected and decided to do it together 3 summits ago now. And in all honesty, and this is not me being sort of self-deprecating, in all honesty, she's the brains behind the majority of it. She's the expert. And so anything that I say is largely secondhand knowledge from her. So there is a caveat with all that I'm about to say. She does most of the heavy lifting, and I just sort of take some of the credit, which is not ideal, but that's the way it is. In terms of your question, how did it go? It went really well. We had absolutely loads of people showing up, lots of engagement. And I guess that's the measure from my perspective. Are the other people who are attending, are they plentiful? Are they happy? Do they appear to be engaging? Are they asking questions and coming into our Facebook group, which is something that we do? And a flip side also, on the other side, are the sponsors happy? The people who have provided finance to make the whole thing happen. And I think in most cases, the answer will be yes. So I'm very happy.
That's really great to hear, Nathan. I did this time around, I think I caught somewhere between 8 and 10 sessions, including a dreadful one on the Friday at 4 a.m. Eastern time, because I decided to catch it live. And you and I were talking about that before, and you said, poor me. And I said, well, if it's worth getting up for, I'll get up for it. So I caught a couple live sessions, including the panel that you and Paul Wasted did with Brian Gardner and with Nick. And I should tell you, that one spun into another podcast episode. Brian and I had a further conversation coming out of that. So thank you for that lead in and letting me steal that.
Oh, well, I mean, the unexpected consequences. That is a really nice part of it all. Lots of little things do happen. I don't really frequent social media all that much anymore. Used to do a lot more, but I've been told that it did spin off some conversations on various different platforms. And for that, I am really grateful. So the fact that was unexpected. I didn't imagine that you and Brian Gardner would be hooking up off the back of it, but there you go. That's fabulous.
Yeah, and Brian, for all he's done in the community and done for WordPress over the years, I've always admired and always wanted to talk to him. So I reached out and said, "Let's continue the conversation you want to continue." So we did. So that went really well. There was. I personally did anything to do with blocks I caught. So there was probably 8 to 10 block sessions. I did catch David McCann's page builder roundup session, which I
Yeah.
really enjoyed.
Yeah.
And David's really good at what he does, so that's good. But all in all, I thought the format went really well, to be honest with you, Nathan.
Yeah, so the way it works from our side is that we have all the sessions. Well, not every session, but the vast majority of the sessions are pre-recorded, and you show up. You look at the schedule page. So you sign up. You get alerted by email when things are happening, and that includes where the schedule page is, and so on and so forth. And then you go to the schedule page, discover when things are on, and if you wish to be a part of the chat with the person actually presenting. So in this case, it may be, I don't know, Brian Gardner or anybody else that you chose. You would turn up in the first hour that it's live, and then the chat is there, and the presenters all commit to come for that first hour. Occasionally there's a hiccup there and something goes wrong in their life and they're not able to make it. But so far, touch wood, so good. And you just click the play button. The video is available for 24 hours, so you don't have to show up live. And we feel this is a good model because it allows all of the presenters to create the best version of their talk. They've got weeks and months in some cases to pontificate and ruminate on it and give us their best version. And actually, in some cases, it's quite interesting. A few of the presentations over the years have been submitted to us, and then they've asked for it to be given back because they've had a slightly different idea, and some aspect that they'd recorded is now no longer what they want to show, and so they ask for us to pull that one, and they submit a second version, and we've done that a few times.
Yeah, I think not doing them all live kind of helps the versatility of the summit that way, that you can throw it out there. You can say, here it is. Most of the ones I watched were pretty clean. There was no tech glitches in them. Now, it takes a little bit to do that with technology to say, okay, make this available only for 24 hours, but that's behind the scenes working stuff.
Yeah.
But I think going that route is a really good way to do it, to be honest.
Well, and some of the presenters are very, how to describe it, that they would rather not be in front of a live audience. They're very happy to put their presentation together and, like I say, think about it, but they'd rather not be doing everything live because there are some tripwires there, aren't there? The technology could go wrong. They might find that they go off on a tangent and the time is running out, and they discover that they've only got 5 minutes left and still have 15 minutes of things that they wanted to discuss. And so being able to edit it themselves gives them the opportunity to just refine it and get it just right. The flip side, of course, is that you don't get to have that sort of live interaction, but the feedback that we've had is without a shadow of a doubt that this is a format which most people can get a handle on, and they appreciate it. We had a few comments this year where people were saying, would it be possible to have people in a live stream after the presentation is finished? And so Anshin and I are mulling that over. We've got all sorts to consider there because we've got an hour-long slot for everybody, and then the next presentation starts. So as an example, let's say that one of the presentations is just 30 minutes long. Well, then there's a 30-minute gap, and maybe that's possible there. But if they present something which is 45 minutes long, there's only 15 minutes. And if they stray into 50 minutes, there's only 10 minutes left. And so we're not quite sure how that's going to work out, but it's room for thought. And there were lots of nice feedback around all aspects of the summit.
Yeah, I would agree. And I know you had some challenges. You were commenting in the pre-show to the summit that you and Anshin did as an intro on the first day, and you were saying with the live ones, so the live panel, the Brian Gardner, the Nick, the Paul Lacey, yours, you actually had to do quick turnaround time on that to make it available for 20 hours. So you had to do a little bit of editing and then throw that talk up pretty quickly, didn't you, Nathan?
Yes, that's right. So if you can imagine a scenario, we make the promise that you'll be able to watch it for 24 hours, and that's publicly available on the internet. So it's got nothing to do with Facebook. It's got nothing to do with Twitter. Yeah. It's on our website. You don't need you don't need to ever go to any social platform. Of course, the problem with that is you record it live, and then you have to, as quickly as possible, get it onto the website. So as soon as I clicked stop and recorded it, I then went over and got my editing software out and edited it, and then uploaded it to Vimeo, which is the platform that we use to host our video. And I think the whole thing probably took about 50 minutes, but you're busy in the background and hoping that other things don't go wrong in the meantime.
The challenge of doing the live routine, and
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
do live with builds, so you're a little used to it. But for somebody that's actually going to try and do this live, I would actually suggest to them they do a dry run a couple times and see if they can get the process down, because we all know the minute you go to something live and then you try and get it up in a hurry, things are going to happen in the middle. I can almost guarantee that.
Well, yeah, we have several backup arrangements there. In that, the platform that we use to go live is called Restream, and
Yeah.
we don't need to go into the technicalities, but it's run in a browser. And thus far, it did actually break on me once. Nothing to do with the summit. It broke on me once when I was doing something for WP Builds, and it wasn't my fault. It was actually Restream. Something had gone wrong on their end. But should that fail, then I do have a backup option which we can flip over to. Similar idea, it's browser based and it's called StreamYard, so that's available. But we also have people on hand. In this case, it would be Anshan. She's logged into the platform in case my internet connection goes down and I suddenly can't interact. And then she's able to take over because, the vagaries of the internet, occasionally your ISP has a hiccup and something goes wrong. And so we have to think about all these things. I mean, it's not bulletproof. That there could be enough dominoes falling over that the whole thing collapsed. But so far, again, where's some wood? Touch more wood. So far, everything has been fine.
Yeah, the moral of the story is when you're doing anything live on the internet, it doesn't matter if it's a summit, if it's a webinar, have a backup plan in place and test that plan, because
Yeah.
we've all seen it. I know I did a show on WP Builds with you a couple months ago, and I had great internet till we hit the live button, and then it was like, what happened here? and
Yeah.
it happens to the best of us. I mean, we're all at home. We're all at the mercy of our ISP. We still have a pandemic going on in the world, and internet connections come and go, and that just
Well,
happens.
yeah, I've been doing this live show, which you've been on kindly several times, on a Monday. We call it This Week in WordPress. And I've done that so many times that a multitude of things have gone wrong. For example, a guest just disappears off the screen, or several guests, the audio can't be heard. And in one case, we've had people who just get the time wrong and then show up an hour late and the show's just about to end and they arrive.
Mhm.
So all of these things happen, and after a period of time you do just become accustomed to the fact that at the end of the day it is content. It's not it is not essential that it works perfectly and you look flawless all the time. It is fine for things to go wrong, and basically you can just laugh about it, and I try to take that approach. When things go wrong, I literally laugh because what can you do?
I know. I've been there. I've done there. It was funny. We were talking in a pre-show about a mutual friend, Kathy's aunt, and I'll share with this story. And we were going to go to podcast record, and my internet connection decided to reset right
There you go.
about I was going to hit the record button. So I grabbed Twitter, reached out to Kathy, and said, my router just rebooted. Give me 30 seconds. And Kathy was like, oh, don't worry. I'll just sit here and wait. And then we went recorded like nothing had happened. So it happens. And that's the life of being in the technology game, right? So
Yeah, yeah,
one
yeah.
one of the things I wanted to touch on that I thought in the summit you did really well was what you did was you had a page for each day and a schedule. And one of the things I think the Page Builders Summit did really well is you allowed me to add each item or each talk I wanted to see individually to my calendar. And
Thank you.
and some of the summits have taken the approach you add the whole day. Well, unfortunately, I don't know about you, but no matter how much I want to watch a whole day, I've got some clients to take care of in the midst of the summit. So it's easier to add the individual items. And I think that's something you and Ashen have always done very well is you give people that option.
Well, it's funny you should say that. In the first summit, we've done it 3 times now. Each time we've done that thing, we've provided calendar links. The first summit, we only provided Google Calendar links, and at one point during the summit, somebody reached out and said, "Hang on a minute, I don't use Google products, and I can't actually use the links." So for the previous 2 summits, we've provided 3 sets of links. We do Google Calendar, we do Microsoft Office and Office 365. And then, typically somebody reached out this time and said, I use iCal on Apple. And so maybe we'll try and add that one in as well. The purpose, though, is simply to make it so that you can show up and watch the things that you actually want to watch, because it's guaranteed that of the 40 presentations that we've got going on, you're not going to watch 40. Nobody watches 40. Actually, I watch 40, but that's because I'm part of it. But nobody else is watching 40. So you pick the ones that feel right. And Anshan has done this really nice thing where she provides this quiz. And based upon the information that you submit in that quiz, it's 4 or 5 questions, it takes seconds, then it suggests an itinerary during the course of the week of things that would be of interest to you. So a simple example might be you are a user of the Oxygen Builder or something, and Beaver Builder, well, anything to do with Beaver Builder and Oxygen will then drop into the suggestions. And if you're using Gutenberg, again, the same thing. If you're into marketing, the same thing. So we in that way, the quiz provides you with a bespoke itinerary, and then you can go and click on all the links and add them to the calendar. And it works really well. The only downside is it takes ages. It takes absolutely ages to do the calendar links, because you have to do each of them 3 times. And inevitably something goes wrong with the schedule. Somebody says, "Oh, I can't do that time. Can I move?" And then you have to remember to go and amend all of the calendar links, because the calendar is bound to the name of the presentation. It's not like you can just say, "Oh, 1:00 on the Page Builder Summit, there's an event." It's at 1:00, there's an event. It's called this. It's by this person, and here's the description. So you have to make sure to amend it all. And I've definitely probably got that wrong once or twice, just left the wrong calendar link by accident.
But I think it's a really good option. So I have to ask the question, being the Page Builder Summit, which page builder was the website built with?
We used Beaver Builder for the website, and the reason that we use Beaver Builder is basically for the brevity of making it. Both Anshan and I, by pure coincidence, have used it lots and lots in the past, and so it just made sense when we were building out the website, rather than one of us learning a new tool or both of us learning a new tool. Right at the beginning, it was, "What have you used?" And she said Beaver Builder, and I said, "Oh, that's great, because I use Beaver Builder too." So the takeaway from there is, sitting very liberally on the fence. That's not a representation of what we believe. It's just a representation of what we found quickest.
Yeah. In the summit this year, you had, if I recall right, 3 panels or 4. I could be wrong.
Yeah, we had several panels. Yeah, we did. We had a codable panel. We had the Brian Gardner one ended up being a panel that you mentioned earlier. Me, Nick Diego, Paul Lacey, and Brian Gardner. We also had a Cloudways panel and a GoDaddy panel. So I think you're right. I think that's 4.
Is there any talk of expanding the panels? Because I know one of the things I really enjoy is the panels. So,
well, it's good. It's good to hear that kind of feedback, and I think the answer to that will be yes, because the panels were widely enjoyed. We strayed more into the live thing. I was saying everything about the problems with live earlier, but we did do it a bit this year, like I said, 4 times at least, and it did go down really well, and people just really enjoy that conversation. The one that springs to my mind was the one that was organized by Cloudways, because that was quite a big one. There was 6 guests on the screen all at the same time, and they were just from the different page builders, and it was really nice getting those guys together. And rather than the bun fight that you might get if you were in, I don't know, some other non-WordPressy field where you've got commercial rivals all on the screen at the same time, and you can imagine things could get out of hand. They were all very nice to each other, and it was a very affirmative experience with people just comparing. We do this. Oh yeah, we do something like that, and we're trying this. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. And it was really nice getting them all on the screen. So much so that when the conversation ended, we kind of all rounded off with, "We should do this more often," and hopefully we will.
And I think we were talking before we went to record about our community. And I think, and you and I have both talked about this multiple times on multiple platforms. We have a real special community. And it means we can get all these competitors together and we don't end up in those so called bun fights that we see in other groups. Oh, my product is better because of this, and my product is better because of that. That doesn't enhance the people watching it. Then you sort of watch that stuff and say, geez, am I watching a TV commercial or a debate? And that really doesn't, there's a time and a place for that, but it doesn't really help it. And one of the things we have is our WordPress community, which we both think is phenomenal. And we all kind of try and add to the value and help each other, right, Nathan?
Right. Yeah. The conversation has been had by me many, many times, but I would just like to echo those sentiments. I really don't quite understand why the WordPress community is quite so remarkable, but it really is. There's very little backbiting and very little falling out. It does happen occasionally, and that's why when it does happen, it's so remarkable because it's so unusual. You only have to turn up to an event, a meetup or a WordCamp or something like that, to realize just how accommodating and generous of their time most people are. And you're in these events and the competitors are chatting away and having a coffee together or something slightly stronger together and having a whale of a time, and the whole commercial aspect doesn't really come into it. The daggers are all away and everybody's having a really nice time. I've thought about this long and hard, and I don't really have the answer. I think it has something to do with the ethics of open source software and all of that. And we can open up a whole can of worms there, but my my theory is based around those kind of things. But I really am so glad that I fell into the WordPress community.
Me too as well. I think one of the things that keeps me doing what I do, and as you know, I do a lot of marketing as well, but I look at where the people are I talk to, and that's probably in the WordPress community is because of the people involved. I mean, I don't know any other community where you can reach out to a VP or a founder of a company and say, hey, can we have a chat? Can we record a podcast? Can we have an off the record discussion? Can I get some advice? And 9 out of 10 times you'll almost always get it. Maybe not right away, but you will get it. And that's pretty remarkable when you
Yeah.
ask me. I mean, I think you and I are both so lucky that we do what we do, and we do things like run summits, run webinars, run podcasts, and the people we get to meet and the people we get to chat with, and that's pretty incredible, Nathan.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's astonishing to me that it's so good. And you've probably been to all sorts of events over the course of your life. I have, and
Yeah,
some
I
of them
have.
are difficult to attend, shall we say, because it's just all about sales and pitches and commercial this and advertising that. And the WordPress events, there are there's commercial stuff going on and there's advertising stuff going on, but somehow it manages to be subsumed by the general niceness of it all.
Yeah. Um, Coming out of the summit, so we've talked a little bit about the mechanics of the summit and how things have gone and the community behind it. If you had to change one or two things that you didn't like or you could have done differently, and I've run big events, and I kind of look at events after the fact and say, I know everybody thought the event was wonderful, but here's a list of 10 things I wasn't happy with. Is there anything that you'd like to do differently?
Yeah, and it's all to do with me. That is to say, the way that I approach these tasks, I'm generally speaking, I'm modestly organized. I'm
Mm,
certainly not hyper organized, and I'm not an absolute disaster. Well,
okay.
Anshin may disagree, but I personally, I'm not as organized sometimes as I could be, and so first of all, if you're going to put on a summit and you wish it to be a success, please don't underestimate the amount of work that's involved, because it is considerable. Well, it is considerable if you do it the way that we do it, with all of the different attributes and what have you that we've got going on. And it's very easy for me not to have the processes refined. And so a great example would be communication, it would be probably a great idea if I got myself a CRM so that I could follow things up, because I traditionally just stick with email, and that's worked very well. But that's usually on a one-to-one basis with website clients. I'm dealing with one person. They reply to me, and we go through the process of building the site together. Whereas with the summit, there might be as many as 50 or 100 people all trying to communicate at the same time. And so it's very easy to forget where you got with somebody and exactly how far down the road of their presentation being submitted or their sponsorship being organized or whatever it was. And so I think that would be an area where I personally could improve.
That is, communication is a tough one, especially when there's 40 or 50 people running around, and then all the stuff between you and Anshin. CRM.
But also, sorry, just to carry that on for 1 second, also just getting the right piece of software, because every single thing that I've ever tried has things that I dislike. It might be 80% what I want, but that 20% that doesn't work for me is the Achilles heel, and the whole thing collapses around that 20%. And maybe somebody listening to this can reach out to me. My email address is admin@wpbuilds.com, and tell me what is the piece of software that I need, because I'd really welcome it. Everybody's told me all sorts of things about different things, and I'm yet to find the perfect one.
I have the same issue with CRMs, Nathan. I have probably tried 30 of them, and I can't find the one that I want. So.
Yes, exactly. I've tried them all, and of course, the problem is the more that you try, the more time you are wasting. And it may be that you just need to settle on the least bad one and just go with it.
And then maybe take all your tasks and throw them in something like Trello or Airtable or whatever project management tool is your choice, and click up and manage them that way and be done with it.
Yeah, so we actually we use ClickUp to organize the tasks on the back end. So ClickUp, we've got a fairly lengthy list of tasks, which has been refined over time, which, like I said at the beginning, Anshin has refined that over time. And there's maybe 200 or 300, I don't know. There's loads. And so that works for that. But for me, here's a couple of recommendations that I've actually discovered, and these are the ones that I'm working with at the moment. They may well be replaced, but these are 2 browser extensions which work inside of Gmail to help you wrangle your emails. So, for example, you can tag certain emails so that they pop up again, or you can say, I'd like to be re-notified about this in a couple of days, or you can categorize it, or what have you. So that one's called Active Inbox, and it's brilliant. I really like it. It's very lightweight. You can barely notice it in the UI unless you're looking for it. But you can schedule send. You can do things, like I said, you can tag things and make them be specific to certain things. And another one is called Yanado, or anyway, it's YANADO, and it adds a Trello-style Kanban board to your emails. So if an email drops in, you can add it into a Trello-style board, which is obviously hidden because Gmail's there, but you just click one button and that Kanban board pops up. And so you can do all of the typical stuff you would do with Kanban boards, move it between lanes and tag it and set dates for things to happen and set the status and all of that. And it's all done inside of Gmail. So you literally engage with the email, inside the email, tell it how it needs to be categorized and what have you, and then click one button and the whole Gmail UI is completely instantly replaced with Yanado, and then you can just make it go away again. It's brilliant.
Thanks for sharing those 2 tools. There's one I knew and one I learned. So the benefits of doing a podcast is you always learn something new.
Well, I've just wasted another day of your time. You're going to go and find Yanado and then probably discover it's not to your liking.
It's funny you say that, because you were commenting on WP Builds this week, on This Week in WordPress, how some new tools wasted a whole day of your time. So I guess it's turnaround is fair play at this point in time.
Yeah.
Nathan, thanks for jumping on and talking about the summit. I think what anybody needs to realize is it's not just a case of throwing out 40 videos and being done with it. I think a lot of people think, oh, stuff production is easy, and they don't realize the time and the effort that goes in. And frankly, the more time and the more effort that you put in and Anshin put in made it successful and made it actually a really treat for everybody to watch. I mean, I was saying to you earlier, I found it was pretty seamless. I watched my share of sessions. I was probably over 10 this year. Anything certainly that was Gutenberg or block related, I watched. I watched a couple others that weren't. And then I just kind of watched some of the panels, and I think what's made it successful is you learn every time you do something, and then you move forward and do another one. So thank you for
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's right. I mean, it's been a really interesting experience for me. I've learnt an awful lot from Anshan. I honestly don't think it's reciprocated. It's not a fat lot that she's learned from me, but it has been a remarkably good experience. Yeah, there is a lot of work that goes on in the background. I mean, all sorts of little things. I won't mention any of them because they're uninteresting, probably from the listener's perspective. But there are a lot of things going on in the background. And just to give you an example, the summit ended 3 weeks ago, and Anshan and I were on a video call for about an hour
Yeah.
earlier today. So it's not like the summit just ends and it's all over. There's still things which are hanging that still need to be dealt with, weeks and weeks after the summit appears to be over.
hmm And the other thing too is you got to make sure that your sponsors that were involved are happy and
Yep.
got what they needed out of it, because they make a lot of this happen. Like
Yeah, yeah.
they really do. And I would say they probably want some analytics, or I would think, or something, or a
Yeah,
package of.
those kind of things, and the same might be said of the speakers. They might want to know if many people were watching their presentation, so on. So yeah, there's all of those kind of data points to share after the fact.
Yeah. When are you planning the next summit for? I have to ask.
Well, the truth is, we are planning another one, and I don't have a specific date. We briefly mentioned it earlier, but I think it might be April next year. That's what we think at the minute, but I'm not 100% sure. So something around there.
And I suspect it will probably be more on page builders, and I would think maybe the Gutenberg blocks will rule its head if you like it, or ugly head if you don't like it, even more, because we're going more into that world, I would think.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the first summit we had very little about the block editor. In fact, I don't know if there was anything. Thinking back, there may have been one, or that was probably it. And then in the second one there were several, and then in this most recent one, as you said, there was 8 or so, all
Yeah.
concerned with Gutenberg and the block editor, and not just the technicalities of how to do things, but opinions and things like that. And it does feel as if that's the direction of travel. But we do want to stay true to the roots. It's the page builder summit, and in my mind, currently Gutenberg is behaving a bit like a page builder in many respects, and so it kind of gets lumped into there as well. So if I had my chance to name the summit again, I probably would stick with page builder summit, even though people might not associate that with Gutenberg, but I do.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I truly believe Gutenberg is a page builder. So, and I've had this discussion with multiple people, and they say, but it's built in. It's not a page builder. Just because it's built in doesn't mean it's a not a page builder. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's something. And to be fair, it's come a long way. And I was very anti Gutenberg 2.5 years ago, and now I'm kind of all in with it. So opinions change depending on how the tools change and the best way to do things.
Well,
So
that's right. Yeah, it certainly has been advancing on in leaps and bounds in the more recent past months and year or so, and I can't see that changing. So yeah, keep your eyes to the ground. Is that no? It's ears to the ground, isn't it?
here's to the
Eyes
ground.
something. Keep your eyes somewhere and your ears somewhere else, and
Yeah.
we'll see what
And
happens.
and really, if you want to know more, there, go check out our mutual friend Birgit's Gutenberg Times
That's
website
right.
and watch some of the lives that they're doing typically on Thursdays and see what's going on in that community. Another guy to go look at is go look at Spencer Foreman and some of the stuff he's doing up at Launch Flows. We now have a newsletter product through Leslie called Newsletter Glue. That's all page builder back end, as you know. So
I'm loving. I use Newsletter Glue twice a week at least. I love it.
I'm sure you do, but my problem is I'm a ConvertKit user, and
Does it not connect to ConvertKit?
not yet.
Oh.
There's some issue with the API, and
Okay. Yeah, I'm lucky. All the things that I would like it to connect to, it already does, and so it's ideal.
and it's a great product. So, I mean, if you're looking for Gutenberg information, there's 3 people right there to go watch and talk to. Nathan, this has been a great conversation. If somebody wants to reach out to you about the summit or anything else, or WP Builds, or This Week in WordPress, how's the best way?
Okay, thank you for that. The best way to discover the content that we produce, or I produce with the various people who help me, is wpbuilds.com. So that's wpbuilds.com. And you can reach out to me at Twitter, which oh dear, I'm going to say it. It's at WP Builds, but honestly, as Rob knows, my abilities on Twitter are honestly, if you had 2 computers and you had me in one computer with next to one computer with Twitter, and on the computer next to me we put a potato and said, both of you two things interact with Twitter, I suspect the potato would be better at Twitter than I am. I am lousy at it. So if you reach out to me and I don't respond, it's because I'm worse than a potato at Twitter.
Yeah. Thanks, Nathan. I really appreciate the conversation and the friendship. Have a great day.
You too. Take care. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks. Bye-bye. A very special thank you to Nathan Wrigley for joining me on today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did having it with Nathan. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this edition of the SDM Show. The SDM Show is brought to you by Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing. For more information about Rob Cairns and Stunning Digital Marketing, go to stunningdigitalmarketing.info. From here, you can connect to us on social media, go to our website, and even go to the podcast to subscribe. This podcast is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much. Keep your feet on the ground. Keep reaching for the stars. Make your business succeed.